Good morning, friends, and welcome to Wake Up in the Word. Hey, thanks for joining me this morning. Hey, grab a good cup of coffee and go with me to Exodus 20. But before we get there, you can tell I'm not home. I'm in Blythewood, South Carolina at Matt and Libby Wright's house. We had the opportunity to watch two of our grandkids, Addison and Cooper Wright, in their season-ending or year-ending band concert at Muller Middle School. It was a great, wonderful time celebrating with other families that all came to watch their kids as we filled up the Muller gym and just enjoyed some great music provided by 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. I did want to do one other thing just before we get started. I want you to see the wonderful picture behind me that's on the wall here at Libby and Matt's house. It just says, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And that quotation from Joshua is one that is seen perhaps in many homes. We have a plaque very much like that in our home in Chesney. And it's one of those statements that's made by families that want to say, hey, we're going to love and disciple our children. Kind of reminds us of a commandment, the commandment that is described by Paul in Ephesians 6 as the first commandment with a promise attached to it. And what is that? It's from Exodus chapter 20, verse 12 that says, "Honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you." It's a commandment that is given especially to those who are a part of a godly family transition. No, it's not one of those where you can say, wait a minute, my mom and dad are criminals. You want me to obey them? No, you put those things in perspective, of course. But even when you have parents that are off the rails, that are messed up, maybe addicted to drugs or have fallen into some other criminal activity, it doesn't mean you can't love them, honor and respect them, even if you disobey them when they're asking you to do something that's wrong. So honoring your father and mother has been something that's a cherished hallmark of believing families through the centuries. It guarantees that the right principles and rules and love and mercy are going to be transmitted from generation to generation. Well, in our particular study that's going through the Ten Commandments, Foundation of American Society, the author writes that this commandment is about respecting authority. This authority is delegated to parents by God, who assumes his ultimate authority as Father. Now, this is the first commandment that's accompanied by a promise, and early colonial laws especially respected parental rights and responsibilities when it came to educating, disciplining, and supervising their children. As a young man, George Washington even copied the 110 rules of civility and decent behavior in company and conversation. You think that you've got some rules? Yeah, these were some being taught to children in George Washington's day. What is Rule 108? Honor and obey your natural parents, although they be poor. Yes, honor and obey your parents. Thomas Jefferson advised the son of a friend, reverence and cherish your parents. And the fifth commandment requires that God's delegated authorities must be treated honorably. Well, one of the things we need to look at in these days is the fact that disobedience to parents is now something that's even being pushed in many circles and in many places. I can still remember a visit to a college, one that was kind of rebelling from our denomination, the Southern Baptist Convention, to become what they described as a stackpole of liberalism. This college, suffering from some woes in being able to recruit students, offered pastors' families free tuition if they would just send their children. It was about that time that Joy was looking for a college, our eldest, and we made a visit to this school. I'm not going to name them lest I, kind of maybe get in trouble for some things that I don't need to, nor to disrespect them. You can imagine this might have happened in many schools, as a matter of fact. When we visited this particular campus, the girl that was giving us a tour did not know that I was a pastor, nor that Joy was a pastor's daughter. In our small little student tour group, she made a point of telling us that we are a school that's going to try to pull these children away from their conservative parents' legalistic teachings. And I'm thinking, really? She's thinking that's something we would be approving of, apparently, and that they wanted to be a stackpole of liberalism and changing the viewpoints of these kids from what their poor dinosaur parents might have been teaching them. Well, it didn't sit well with Joy, nor did it sit well with me. And after that tour was over, and whenever I would tour a school, I would say, now, Joy, go into the college bookstore, and when you see what kind of books they're selling, it also tells you a lot about the school. And there we found things that not only parents wouldn't approve of, but God wouldn't approve of. Things that we would tell our own kids at church, this is bad material, this is demonic material in some cases. And yet instead of good Christian literature in a supposed Christian college bookstore, they were being fed just the opposite, the kind of things that would tear down their faith, including some of the textbooks that were suspicious as well. We came home from that, and I did not have to tell Joy that that was not a school for her. Oh no, she let me know up front that no, that's not a place that I would go, because this school would attack all the things I've been brought up to learn, to know, and believe. Well, with those kind of things happening in some of our schools, it's no wonder that we look at many state institutions, even Ivy League schools these days, and we find the surprising picture of kids going off into craziness. And where is this coming from? Is it that we've got a society now that's completely not just ignoring this commandment, but teaching against it? In other words, it's time for you to become a person that's unknown to your parents, that your parents would object to. Matter of fact, not only that, rebel against them, and it's the fashionable thing to do these days. Well, in the New Testament, we find some disturbing words by the Apostle Paul, first in Romans chapter 1, when he describes a society that goes completely off the rails because it withholds the truth of God. It falls under what Chuck Colson called God's most fearsome judgment, and it lays out how bad that society can get. As you read the last paragraph of Romans 1, it's almost like a description of the United States of America today. And in one of those descriptions, as it says, here's what these people are like when this nation is falling apart and it's under judgment. He says they're full of envy, murder, quarrels, deceit, and malice. They're gossips, slanderers, God haters, arrogant, proud, boastful, inventors of evil, and here it is, disobedient to parents. So here we are living in a nation described in Romans chapter 1, and one of their key hallmarks is being disobedient to their parents. Paul also talks about what it's going to be like in the last days before Jesus comes. As he talks about to the young preacher Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 3, we have these words. He says, know this, hard times, perilous times in the King James, will come in the last days. People will be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, proud, demeaning, and here it is, disobedient to their parents. Now, in this particular case, we're seeing this pattern all over our nation. What would happen if we had genuine revival? Well, one of the things that would happen is there would be a new reconciliation between parents and children. There would be a time where, once again, even with all our faults and failures, parents and children would open their arms to each other, love one another, and there would be a respect for those values being passed down from the parents. Is it possible that we could have that again in this nation? Well, just this past Friday, we had something happen that makes us doubt that when the state of Maine passed a bill soon to be signed by the governor that would make their state a haven for disobedient children who want to run to their state as minors, yes, as minors, to have procedures like abortion, right up full-term abortion, or to have transgender surgeries and treatments. Really? You can do that, not only being disobedient to parents, but disobedient to the civil authorities of the other 49 states? This is something being considered in other places, but for a state of the Union to say they're going to enact laws that say to you, disobey your parents, well, that in itself is the government stepping out of bounds. Is there hope for America? Well, only if we get back to respecting the God-given sanctity of the home. And in the meantime, you say, as Matt and Libby have said in their house, as we say in ours, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. God bless you. I'll see you again right here tomorrow when we wake up in His Word.